After the Bretton Woods Agreement was established in 1944, the US dollar has dominated global trade and financial markets since World War II. And the second place goes to the comparatively new euro, which was launched on the 1st of January 1999, and coins and banknotes were launched on the 1st of January 2002. And 12 European countries took a historical step forwards by entering Stage 3 of economic and monetary union. The United Kingdom, while it was part of the European Union, did not use the euro as its common currency. When did the dollar first appear? Following the ratification of the United States Constitution, Congress passed the Mint Act of April 2, 1792, which established the coinage system of the United States, and the dollar as the primary unit of currency. When was the American dollar created? Although it has a deep-rooted history in the United States, the dollar as we know it today was first printed in 1914. When did the US dollar become the global reserve currency? The US dollar became the official reserve currency of the world in 1944. The decision was made by a delegation from 44 allied countries called the Bretton Woods Agreement. The US dollar sealed its position in the early 1970s with a deal with the oil-rich Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to conduct global energy trade in dollars. Which country's currency could be the next world reserve currency? There are a series of alternatives that could replace the dollar as the next global reserve currency. After the dollar, the euro is the most widely used reserve currency, and it has the potential to replace it if economic conditions improve. However, the European Union lacks a central treasury unit, which makes this difficult. China's official currency renminbi, which ranking as the 8th most traded currency in the world, could surpass the dollar, a goal that the country's leaders are keen on realizing. However, China's desire to de-dollarize will be hampered by the lack of full renminbi convertibility. What is the situation in India in this regard? The Indian rupee, like the Chinese renminbi, is not yet fully convertible in the exchange markets. Non-convertible currency creates difficulties for participating in the international market, as the transactions take longer routes for processing. So India had to work out alternative arrangements. India have other options for starting the de-dollarization process. Similar to China and Russia, India can also look towards having a digital currency in the near future. India can also strive to increase the proportion of euros and gold in its foreign exchange reserves. Starting from Russia-India transactions, trade in national or digital currencies, with Eurasian Economic Union, BRICS, and SCO members, may become a reality in the near future. De-dollarization. The term de-dollarization refers to the process of reducing the dollar's dominance in global markets. De-dollarization is the process of substituting the US dollar for trading oil or other commodities, purchasing US dollars for forex reserves, bilateral trade agreements, and dollar-denominated assets. Currently, about 60% of foreign exchange reserves of central banks, and about 70% of global trade, is conducted using USD. How Russia is changing the world's economics. Leading geopolitical adversaries of the United States, and a variety of geopolitical and economic forces, are currently opposing the US dollar's hegemony. Russia and China, the adversaries of the US, have already begun the de-dollarization process. To mitigate the effects of financial sanctions threatened by the United States and the European Union, Russia began its de-dollarization efforts in 2014, when sanctions were imposed for the annexation of Crimea. In 2021, Russia's share of dollar-denominated assets reduced to 16%. It also reduced its share of trade conducted in USD by prioritizing national currencies in bilateral trade. The use of USD in Russian exports to the BRICS fell from around 95% in 2013 to less than 10% in 2020. Due to the rapid globalization, the dollar's situation was already precarious. And now, the financial sanctions on the Russian government, Russia's exclusion from the dollar-denominated SWIFT system, and China's cross-border interbank payment system, all these developments have led Russia, as well as other countries contemplating whether they might find themselves in the same position, to explore alternatives. Such options could include developing a substitute for SWIFT. Countries are specifically looking to China, which has large internationally active banks, has established its own clearinghouse for cross-border transactions, and is launching a campaign to encourage greater international use of its currency, the renminbi. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine, as well as the economic sanctions that have resulted from it, will eventually force central banks to reconsider their reliance on the dollar. The unintended consequence of the West's unilateral sanctions against Russia was an increase in inflation in Europe, East Africa, and South Asia, which were the largest importers of Russian energy and wheat. As searching for alternatives and creating substitute supply chains takes time and money, the majority of economies are developing various methods to circumvent the sanctions. These can range from bartering to exchanging their own currencies for dollars. BRICS nations, which include Brazil, China, South Africa, and India, produce more than 24% of global GDP and 16% of global trade, reconsidered dollar trade. Similarly, many countries will likely reconsider dollar trade in Africa, which accounts for 3% of global GDP and is expected to double in size by 2050. For nearly 50 years, people around the world have theorized about the demise of the US dollar. In recent years, the debate has become increasingly heated. However, the dollar retains its hegemony to a large extent. De-dollarization is not a new phenomenon. Russia and other countries have implemented de-dollarization policies because it is the most effective anti-sanction measure, as the US uses the dollar as a weapon to impose sanctions on other countries. Myanmar has expressed a willingness to de-dollarization its economy and join other countries, like Iran, have integrated in Russia's financial message transfer system. The de-dollarization trend is accelerating globally because US sanctions affect 10% of the countries and 25% of the world's population negatively. The dollar's dominance as the world's reserve currency may be challenged one day, just as the British pound gradually declined, alongside the British Empire. The global payment system may undergo numerous changes. SWIFT and payment systems, used by the EU, China, Russia, and other economies, could be combined to form the future international payment structure. However, gold and digital currency will be critical tools in Russia's de-dollarization campaign. Many countries see gold as an important tool for de-dollarization. Russia and a few other countries have amassed substantial gold reserves in order to protect their economies. Russia has made significant progress in the field of digital currency, with the Russian Digital Financial Assets Law taking effect in 2021, and Moscow completing legislative work on the digital ruble in the second half of 2021. Russia is pursuing the most extreme de-dollarization strategy among nations. Using other currencies makes it significant. Russia has demonstrated to the rest of the world that the dollar's hegemony can be challenged and possibly weakened over time, despite the fact that the de-dollarization drive cannot immediately eliminate the dollar's influence on the Russian economy.